Hello and welcome to another Giant Slayer TFT How to Play video. Today our analyst will be diving into how to play Nami Enlightened in patch 1023. There are quite a few names for this composition, but there's nothing official, so consider it just Nami with Enlightened with Mage. While it is more of a fun build, it actually can do quite well, generally placing 3rd or 4th on average, and occasionally even placing higher than that. We'll be diving into what makes this build viable along with core items, champions, and traits. With all that said, let's jump on in. But before we begin, please don't forget to click the links in our description. Give your support to everyone who helped make this video happen. We host many TFT tournaments with plenty of exciting content to come, so be sure to also follow our Giant Slayer TFT social media pages. Alright, let's get back to the video. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details of this comp, let's answer why and when you should play Nami Enlightened. Let's tackle when you should play the build first. Because this build relies on Nami and Luden's Echo, it's relatively easy to know when you can or can't play this comp. Basically, if you can find a chosen Nami, either Enlightened or Mage, and you can find at least one Luden's Echo, then you're good. You can look to play the build. Of course, there are more nuances to it than that, such as how many Namis do you have by 3-1, are you being contested, and whether you have enough components to make a second Luden's Echo. But the basic requirement is chosen Nami and at least one Luden's. So why play this build, especially since it's not easy to force consistently? The main reason to play this comp, besides the fact that it's fun to play, is that Nami can hard carry you into the late game. This means you're saving a lot of health and can transition into a level 9 composition relatively easily. You're playing for an early power spike to skip the roll down at level 7 that most other players in your lobby will be doing. If you'd like a fun build that breaks the meta mold of rolling at 7 and you want to see bubbles flying everywhere, then we recommend trying out Nami Enlightened. Now we can talk about how to play Nami Enlightened, beginning with the core items. Since we've already mentioned it briefly, it should be no surprise that the most important item for this build is Luden's Echo, which will be given to Nami. Because Nami will proc extra damage to a CC target, it means Nami will always be able to proc it due to her bubble. The Luden's damage comes after crowd control effects are applied, so things like Dazzler, Adept, and Nami's ultimate will happen first. So if you combine Luden's Echo with Nami Chosen and at least 4 Enlightened, you're going to see bubbles flying like crazy and doing quite a bit of damage thanks to the bonus damage of Luden's. This raises the question of whether or not you should prioritize a second Luden's Echo. Ideally, you'll be able to get another tier in Rod, but it's not completely necessary. It's generally better to try to focus on getting a defensive item for Nami first, whether that's Guardian Angel or Quicksilver. Guardian Angel will help against builds running assassins that can easily burst down your Nami, while Quicksilver is just the best item against a lot of CC. Both are useful, so you can end up going for both items if you want, but generally one or the other is fine. Keep in mind, this is the end goal for items on Nami. Early on in the game, you can just stack 2 Ludens and call it a day, as there's not really enough of a threat to your Nami at those stages of the game. Besides giving items to Nami, you can look to itemize either your frontline or additional utility in the form of aura items like Zeke's, Chalice, or even Locket if you have extra rods in the early game. But making sure you have a solid frontline is always a good idea, so look to grab items like Bramble Vest and ZZ Rot Portal. These can be given to either Aurelia or Shen since they are the primary frontline champions of the build. Overall, the simplicity of what items you need to make this composition work is what makes it appealing. One Luden's Echo and a chosen Nami is going to wreak havoc early on in the game, which will open up a lot of possible transitions if you want to pivot to a different build later. Or you can double down on Nami and get a second Luden's for more bubbly action. Let's move on now to the core champions and traits for Nami Enlightened. Obviously, Nami is the key to the composition, specifically a chosen Nami. Both of her synergies are fine to grab as chosen, though Mage makes slotting in 3 mages slightly easier later on. But the key to this build is finding early chosen Nami and playing additional Enlightened champions around her. While there are a lot of different variations to the composition, let's focus on the most common way to play it, which is Enlightened Adept Mage. The core champions for it are Nami, Janna, Morgana, and Aurelia for 4 Enlightened, and Shen Lux to provide Dazzler, Adept, and Mystic. From there, you can add in either 1 or 2 mages, depending on if your Nami is a chosen mage or not. There isn't really any specific mage you should prioritize, but utility works best, like Lulu or Lilia. Additional champions you can add in are Yone to provide 3 Adept, or Ezreal to replace Lux as a strong late-game Dazzler champion. Talon is certainly playable in this build, and you can even tailor it so he's the main carry. And while 6 Enlightened can be good, it does mean you lose a lot of splash traits, so generally it's better to just play 4 Enlightened. Later on in the game, if you can get to level 9, you're simply going to add in strong 5-cost champions. Keep in mind that regardless of what additional champions and traits you play, the most important unit is Nami. Nami must be a chosen if you wish to play this build to its full potential. Otherwise, just use her to help win during stages 2 and 3 and then pivot into a different build on level 7. Also, you don't have to 3-star Nami, but it will help a lot during stage 4 and 5 if you can. All right, now that we've talked about items, champions, and traits, let's get into the quick rundown for each stage of the game, beginning with the early game. Right away, the first thing to prioritize is either a rod or a tier from the beginning carousel. Ideally go for tier as it's a little bit more contested than rod, but as long as you secure at least one, you're in a good position for items. Keep in mind that you don't necessarily have to hit Loon's Echo during the first PvE rounds. You can look to finish it by the 2-3 carousel or hopefully after Krugs. During stage 1, your goal is to find Nami. What a surprise! Besides Nami, picking up a solid frontline is good, so anything that you can 2-star, you should try to. Fiora can do okay since she's enlightened, but preferably you want something like Garen, Wukong, or Tahm Kench. Janna is also a great early pickup with Nami, as the shields will stall out fights quite a bit, and the longer the fight goes on, the better it is for Nami. Make sure you're not buying any chosen that isn't Nami, as you need her to be chosen to play this comp. During stage 2, you're basically doing the same thing as normal, except you don't want to level. While you can play Nami without slow rolling for Nami 3, you want to at least leave the option open by not leveling early on. The more Namis you can find, the better. And of course, on 2-2, if you haven't found a chosen yet, you'll be presented with one. At this point, you can decide whether or not you want to keep looking to play the build. If you have a Nami 2 and a Luden's Echo, then you can skip picking up the 2-2 chosen. If you don't have either of those, it may be a good idea to consider playing normal and not playing this build, since it does have rather specific requirements, meaning you honestly won't be able to force it the majority of games. Let's assume you do have a good start for Nami, so let's continue on through the end of stage 2. Basically, you just want to save your gold, buy Nami in your shop, and keep a lookout for a solid frontline. Aurelia can be a good buy as well, since she's a key part of the composition later. As we move on into stage 3, let's talk about the mid game. Again, you're going to want to avoid leveling, as the goal is to slow roll at level 5. This will naturally come on round 2, and at that point you should have 50 gold or very close to it. This is the time to decide whether or not you will slow roll for Nami 3. Basically, you'll need to have found a chosen Nami and ideally have a second Nami 2 by 3-2 or at least 5 total Namis. If you only have the chosen Nami, then you have 2 choices. Slow level and play for a fast level 9 later on, or slow roll a few rounds and see if you can find additional Namis. All of these options are viable, it mainly depends on luck at that point. But you want to have made a decision by stage 3 carousel, as you don't want to get behind the leveling curve too much if you end up not slow rolling. Assuming you've decided to slow roll, great! Spend excess gold over 50 to look for Nami 3. You can also pick up other Enlightened champions, but only to 2-star them. Nami is actually the only 3-star that you should be going for in this build. Ideally, you'll be able to hit a Nami 3 by the end of stage 3, or at the very least, ideally early into stage 4. As stage 4 comes around, your game plan is this: hit Nami 3 and level. Level relatively quickly to get to level 7 so you're not too far behind the lobby, but don't gut your economy for it. Nami 3 should be plenty strong to carry you through stage 4, though you may struggle against high roll Talon players. If you didn't slow roll for Nami 3, then you do want to level to 7 on 4-1 like everyone else and try to roll a little bit to stabilize your board. It is entirely possible to skip rolling and instead focus on leveling, but it really depends on the strength of the lobby, so scout and see what everyone is playing. The basic idea for this version of the build is to try to get to level 9 near the end of stage 5 at the latest, so that you can transition your build into 5-cost champions. You can even sell Nami at that point and give her items to champions like Yone, Kayn, or Ezreal. Let's move on to the last stage of the game, the late game. So we're backtracking slightly to talk about the beginning of stage 5. If you slow roll, this is basically where you need to hit Nami 3 and be at least level 6, preferably though level 7. During the latter half of stage 4, if you didn't have a Nami 3 yet, you definitely want to have leveled to at least 6 and then continue to look for Nami 3 in stage 5. But not having Nami 3 the later this stage of the game goes, the worse off you'll be. But But if you did hit Nami 3, then all you need to do is focus on leveling and filling out the rest of your comp. Ideally, you'll want to hit level 9 sometime during stage 6 because the win condition of this build is transitioning into 5-cost champions. Otherwise, you're going to get outscaled on level 8 and end up finishing around 3rd or 4th in the lobby. As mentioned earlier, the best 5-cost champions to look for are Yone, Ezreal, and Kayn for this composition. Yone provides additional Adept, Ezreal can replace Lux or even Morgana, and Kayn is just a solid damage dealer in the late game. Azir can do well for additional CC, and his Sand Guards can add a decent amount of health to your board. Overall, for positioning, you just want to protect your Nami as best you can. This build will rely on Shen and Aurelia for frontline, so keep the rest of your champions near your Nami so that she doesn't get sniped by assassins. It's a relatively easy comp to play in that regard, so you don't have to worry about too much, just avoid the obvious threats. All in all, Nami Enlightened is a fun build that can consistently place in the top 4, but it's not a build that you can easily force as it requires a chosen Nami with at least one Luden's Echo. That is going to be all for today's video, folks. There's a lot of Enlightened builds in the meta, so keep that in mind if you want to play Nami Enlightened. On the plus side, Nami is usually not contested as the requirements for this composition are quite specific. Above all, make sure you have fun with this build as it's a nice change of pace from the typical level to 7 and roll down meta that we've had for set 4. Make sure you leave a comment for any builds you'd like us to cover in future How to Play videos. Thank you for watching, and if you're enjoying our content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for future Giant Slayer TFT videos.